Hello and welcome to part 2 of my rock crawler diff maintenance series. That's right, there's a part 3 coming, but before I get into that, let's get into this and I'll explain at the end.
Okay, here we are at the other bench, and sorry about the reflectivity of this. I want to not get oil all over the wood because it's not really very proper wood. It's that glued stuff that probably soak it up like nothing else, like a sponge. That's not easier. I don't know why I even bothered trying to do that. Oh, you bastard. No. That is an ass. You see this here? See that? Because the bloody screws they give with it are crap. They got crap heads. So this one's the same. Stripped out. We'll have to do the same sort of thing here, I think. Unless I can avoid taking it out and still work on the parts I need to work on. Oh, god damn it. It is, it's retained by that thing. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to mark my bloody casing. Luckily, I can improvise. Okay, well, that went pretty badly, and it seems like this grub screw has just rusted and died, which led to it being stripped when I tried to turn it with the hex, and it was a bit of a long shot trying to grind it out to put a flathead on it because it's so flippin' small. However, that doesn't appear to have worked, and so I'm gonna have to drill it if I want to get my axle out, and I could replace it with a spare housing that I have here for a rear axle. The housings are the same, but I actually think it's a redundant part. See, this is where the screw bites, and this is where the other screws thread in. It's just a redundant part, and I might just Vasso it over, or something to seal it up, and seal the hole after I've drilled it. I know this is pretty extreme and some people are going to freak out. But yeah, it's happening. Is that bent, or is it just the... It's just the thing. One thing you don't want to do is like slip off it, because it's surrounded by aluminium. Alright, we have made it through. There's a little bit of stuff in the way stopping me from pulling it out, but I'm going to get rid of that. Maybe with a bit of manual persuasion. Well, gentle manual persuasion as opposed to drilling freaking holes in it. Or with some less gentle persuasion. Alright, let's move our things back. Thanks, Pad. Paddy. Well, that was a little bit of a mission. Make sure I get all those shavings off. That is not the smoothest bearing I've ever felt in my life. Seems to works its problems out. Most of the bearings seem pretty good. I will be having to order some replacements, but as far as reassembling to get rolling, it shouldn't be too bad. Okie dokie, well let's let what we can off here, and then if you want to get into the little nooks and crannies, something like a toothbrush end and stick it in there. Okay, that's nice and clean. I can't see any remaining debris in it. Oh my god, that shaft bearing is rather buggered. I want to see if I got a replacement for that. All these are pretty good. And I'll hit these up with some fresh grease. Just trying to pry this up. I need something too thin. No, I don't recommend trying too hard with that, otherwise you know the piece of metal stuck in your gear under there. Oh look, I'm just going to repack that as is. It seems fine. Again with that. So I'm just looking to replace that bearing there. I'm going to have a look, see what I can find. Oh, actually one there. And for these, I'm going to flush this head and then grease it. So I don't want to grease it with all that crap in there because it'll just go all horrible. So a bit of inox. Okay, so I've been through the different various parts of the diff, and it appears that there are actually two sizes of bearings in this whole assembly, and that's them there. 5 by 11 by 3.9, probably 4, but whatever, and 10 by 14.9 by 3.9, so 15 by 4. Now if you're not sure how you do figure out what bearings you need, you have to measure, if I recall correctly. It's pretty hard to screw it up, but if I don't get this correct order, I will put it down below. So you measure the inside, the outside, and the thickness. Right? And that's the measurements you need to order a new bearing. And these are pretty obviously not sealed very well or anything. But they're both still good, so they're going back in. And what we're going to do, I mean, there is that bearing's rooted. That bearing, while it spins, is very loose. There's some damage to this as well from this bearing seizing up, I think. I have to just go kill a washing machine, excuse me. Right, that's one dead washing machine. As I was saying. So, I could replace this pinion gear. Is it a pinion gear? The drive gear that enters into the coming into the diff. And some pretty bad scoring there. The bearing sits like this, so I think the actual scoring's occurred from the outside of. Anyway, that's pretty nasty, but it's not critically bad at this point. I do have a spare. I don't think I'm going to put it in at this point, unless I drop the whole. I could just replace the whole lot from my spare diff and wait for parts. That is an option, and I'll think about that as I go on. In the meantime, I've got to order bearings, so I'm gonna order bearings. So there you go over. Yeah. And I need. So you need to count how many you need, and it can be a little bit difficult to figure out exactly how many you need. So in this diff housing, you got 2 here, and then out in the just past the CV joint, you've got 1 large one and 1 small one in this housing here, and inside here you've got only 1. So that means that you'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other axle, 5, 6 of the small. And for the large, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 of the large ones. That means I've got to order 10 bearings all up, but I mean that's 10 bearings per axle, so 6 of the 5mm and 4 of the 10mm internal diameters per axle. So that means I need to order at least 12 and 8. Probably better off getting 24 and 16. Anyway, what I'm going to do in the meantime is reassemble as much as I can, and where I have to replace parts, because it's kind of important to have this spinning along a solid axis instead of moving around, otherwise you're going to get enhanced wear on the teeth and the possibility of it slipping out of alignment. and therefore damaging your gearing unnecessarily. Yeah, I'll replace what I need to in order to ensure there's no excess damage while I use it and waiting for new parts. And I think that's actually only going to be these two bearings. This is in a condition as this. It's not quite as good. Both of them will be operable. I'm going to have to do a fair bit of maintenance to ensure them, you know, flushing out mud and whatnot, and keeping the rubbing surfaces from rubbing away each other. I might refrain from using it too much, but it's nice and wet at the moment, and there's lots of mud, so temptation. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, I've played around a little bit. Given I don't know the condition of the other set of these, counterpart to these in the other diff, and the flex, the movement on this shaft and the other diff seemed a bit worse, I'm going to hold off on using my spare set for that, and I'm going to use these in here. I'm going to pack them full of grease and stick them back in. That's a greasy codfish. Glove up. A lot of people doing that at the moment. In fact, there's a world shortage supply of not just these, but the other very common glove up. Bit of a crisis, but I don't think it'll be that bad because I don't think that many people are going to date at the moment. So there should be a downturn in that, and that should be enough to compensate, I think. Get me some goop. And you just want to start packing it in. Really, it's the making a right old mess of this, aren't I? Yeah, oh yeah, getting it everywhere. But it's that repeated action that squeezes it into the bearing. When you're doing larger bearings, you'll see it start to come out the other side. But, I mean, like, in all honesty, I've not got hands that are that small. So I'm just packing it in. So get it all up in there. This one's proved difficult to get off, and I don't want to damage it. I'm just going to try to push it in to the bearing from this side. I know I've not done an amazing, like I've not cleaned them right down, but it's alright. Don't worry. It'll be open pretty soon. Yes, all of that's there is just wasted grease. Should just put it on the teeth. Alright, so I've greased up those bearings. The camera stopped recording, sorry. I've greased up those bearings. The gears, put them back in. I'm just gonna stick these retainers back in. Sit like so. And then I'll need to put some Loctite on these because they don't sit tight. Otherwise, the whole thing will just freeze up. So they've got to be they've got to be set just right, and they've got to be tight enough. But they have to be tight enough to hold the gear in place so it doesn't slide around. So you can move that. Loctite. You don't need much. So I'm going to leave them loose just for now. So that's in there like that. Okay, so see how the gear wants to sit in a natural position. If I push it over here, pushes back a bit, push it over here, locks up. So that's what you gotta avoid. You gotta avoid it locking up. And I'm thinking that's where I want it. So now I'm gonna tighten these up. Oh, she moved. She moved on. Oh, because I pushed on this gear. This is like basically finger tight. And I might just go the tiniest bit more, and then let it set. What the hell is this? Good, good, good. Good, 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 good. So now we move forward to the reassembly. Don't forget I've got to do something about this. So whenever I could stick a 2mm grub screw in there. Or should I just seal it? Save that for when I dismantle it to replace the bearings. To thread a 2mm grub screw into that hole. And for now, just seal the hole. It doesn't actually do anything really useful unless you're running off angle to the holes in the shaft. So that's where I drilled it. So it as long as it sits in there, right there, then the holes line up. Then you've got 2 bolts retaining it. So you don't need this. And I won't be tightening this up this time. So that might be a tip if you are getting a new set of these, is to not bother tightening that up unless you're going to do a custom setup with a different angle on there. You probably are better off buying a different axle, or if you're going to do that, putting an adapter under this piece here, because this can come off. Anyway, let's get to reassembling this. Everything is oiled, greased and good for the time being there. I need to find a pin to replace the snapped pin from in here. You can see in there. And put it all back together. And then I have another diff to do. It's a bit difficult working in rubber gloves because they tend to like to grab everything. Yeah, that's the brace over the top. Something go on the bottom there? I might have to find a really short screw to put in these. It's probably a bit of a pro tip in that. Take it apart before you fill it full of mud. No, I might have had them apart before, but it was only to align the gears. When I first got it, they were out of alignment and caused problems. But that was all I really did. I'm pretty sure that's a redundant action because there is already stuff in there. Got it in the dirt, mate. There was some evil sploosh in there. Taking the gloves off. See that movement? It's an interesting little problem. And when you stick a drive shaft on it, what do you do naturally? As long as your shaft slips pretty well and is flexible, and so that, you know, you push it on, but then it sits back, because it naturally wants to push back. If you see it, like, wants to lift out, so it should keep itself in alignment. That's going to add extra wear every time that sort of shaft pushes in. It's going to wear the gears a bit more. So I want to figure out a solution for that. Just wanted to do a quick addendum to what I just said before. You see how that moves? Well, this also moves. That gouge is from the C-clip. Side note. Can you hear that? That's how they come from the factory. It's not set right. So that C-clip, I need a C-clip there. Must have become worn and buggered off. The C-clip's still on this one. Definitely need to have a look in there. So as you can see, yeah, that's it's gonna have to come off here and go on there. And I'm gonna have to order some more. Apologies, I'm not sure what got missed there. So that's the pin replacement I have. That's the old pin there. And because I don't have any of those, I need something slightly longer. Cut myself one of those out of one of these, because I got a bunch of those 1.5 mil Allen keys. I've got to order some more of those too, apparently, or make some more. I think maybe clothes hanger is a good option. Might be the right thickness. Might be too thick. I'll find something. Anyway, for now, sounds a lot better. Let's do the next diff.
Which being the same as the front diff apart from being on the rear, I would skip and let you assume I did what I did. But something interesting happened, so it's definitely worth checking out part 3. In the meantime, enjoy this nice little bit of bouncy driving. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that like and subscribe button, and please stay well out there and have a great day.